Imagine holding a winning lottery ticket. You glance at the numbers, and I mean, you just decide it's a nice, stiff piece of paper,
Yeah,
right?
just some heavy cardstock.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. So
okay.
you use it as a bookmark for some paperback you're reading. You've got this life-changing value literally resting in the palm of your hand, but because you entirely misunderstand what it is, you just treat it like a disposable scrap.
You don't even give it a second thought.
No, not at all. Okay, so let's unpack this because that is the exact dynamic governing the food on our plates every single day.
It really is.
The mission for today's deep dive is to take a single, incredibly comprehensive source text detailing the healing virtues of the curry leaf and, well, fundamentally alter your perception of this plant. Our source presents this core paradox about how we value our food, and it requires a complete dismantling of our grocery store psychology.
It forces a confrontation with how we assign worth, honestly. We operate under this deeply ingrained, almost inescapable cognitive bias where price and scarcity are like the sole indicators of value.
Oh, totally. If it's expensive, it must be good.
Exactly. And the curry leaf suffers a severe reputational deficit simply because it is ubiquitous in certain parts of the world. And more importantly, it is frequently given away as a free bonus at the vegetable market.
Right, like a freebie.
Yeah. The vendor just tosses a handful into your bag as an afterthought once you've paid for your onions and tomatoes. The brain immediately processes that transaction and categorizes the leaf as an aromatic garnish with a medicinal value of, well, absolute zero.
Because it's free. We think if it actually had profound biological benefits, it would be, isolated in a sleek glass bottle, kept behind a pharmacy counter.
And cost $80 a month, right?
Right. Instead, it's the thing that makes a dish smell incredible while it's cooking, only to be meticulously pushed to the side of the plate and scraped into the trash when the meal is over.
Which is just tragic, really.
It is, but the text we are diving into completely obliterates that assumption. It elevates the curry leaf far beyond a flavor enhancer. It categorizes it as a massive, multi-system botanical medicine.
It puts it on the exact same tier as neem.
Which is huge. For listeners familiar with traditional medicine, neem is like the heavyweight champion of broad-spectrum botanicals.
It absolutely is.
So the claim here is that the curry leaf is functioning as a shield for the human body, literally from head to toe.
And the head-to-toe framework isn't just some poetic device in the text. It is the literal anatomical structure of their methodology. It actually starts at the scalp.
Okay, let's start there.
So the text outlines a really rigorous regimen for combating hair fall and preserving follicle health, but it demands very specific processing. It mandates the consumption of shade-dried curry leaf powder mixed with rice daily.
Shade-dried.
Yeah, shade-dried. And the specification of shade-dried is where we see ancient botanical protocols perfectly mirroring modern organic chemistry.
Well, wait, why not just sun-dry them? I mean, it's faster, it's easier. I imagine leaving them on a mat in direct sunlight achieves the same dehydration, right?
You'd think so, but no. If you leave them in direct sunlight, you are fundamentally altering the molecular architecture of the plant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the most potent phytonutrients in the curry leaf, specifically the volatile oils and the delicate enzymatic structures, they are highly susceptible to ultraviolet radiation.
So the sun just bakes them out.
Worse, UV light acts as a catalyst for oxidation. If you expose the leaves to the blazing sun, the radiation rapidly cleaves the molecular bonds of those compounds. You are literally evaporating the medicine into the atmosphere.
That is wild. So you're left with just a dead leaf.
Exactly. Shade drying relies on ambient air circulation to slowly draw out the water content over days. This suspends the leaf in a dormant, dehydrated state while preserving the structural integrity of the internal chemistry.
Okay, that makes sense.
So you get this concentrated powder where the active alkaloids remain locked in, intact, and ready to be reactivated by the digestive process.
So you're preserving the payload.
Exactly. The payload is safe.
But the source doesn't rely solely on digestion for hair health, right? It introduces a highly complex topical application, too.
It does, yeah. A really specific oil.
Right. It provides a recipe requiring equal parts of curry leaf juice combined with 4 other botanicals. Let me make sure I have these right. Corysali, Nelly, Kizanelli, and Avuri.
You got them.
So you extract the juices of all 5, and you boil them together in coconut oil to create an external scalp balm. Now, let me pause and play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
If eating the shade-dried powder systemically alters your blood chemistry to stop hair fall from the inside out, Why undergo the incredibly labor-intensive process of extracting 5 different plant juices and binding them in hot oil? I mean,
Mhm.
is the body actually requiring intervention from both sides of the skin?
It's a great question. That dual approach exposes the core philosophy of holistic pathology. It completely rejects the Western binary of choosing between an internal pill or an external ointment.
So it's both.
Always both. Let's look at the pharmacology of that specific topical mixture. You aren't just slapping leaves on your head. By boiling the water-based plant juices in coconut oil, you are executing a traditional lipid extraction.
A lipid extraction. Okay, unpack that.
So the heat evaporates the water, transferring the fat-soluble alkaloids from the plants directly into the coconut oil. And coconut oil is rich in lauric acid, which has a very low molecular weight.
Meaning it absorbs easily.
Exactly. It allows it to act as a highly efficient carrier lipid. It drives those extracted plant compounds past the epidermal barrier and deep into the dermal layer where the hair follicles actually reside.
Okay, I see. So the systemic consumption of the powder is delivering the baseline nutritional building blocks through the bloodstream, like the amino acids and minerals, but the topical oil is a targeted strike directly at the localized tissue.
Precisely. And look at the specific botanicals the text selects to accompany the curry leaf.
Right. There were 4 others.
Yeah. Nelly, which is Indian gooseberry or amla, contains a massive concentration of ascorbic acid that stabilizes the collagen structure of the follicle.
Oh, wow.
Then there's Carusalai, often known as Bringraj, which contains compounds that actively dilate the microcapillaries in the scalp, increasing the local blood flow.
So more nutrients actually get to the hair.
Right. And Avuri, or indigo, provides flavonoids that combat premature pigment loss. You are aggressively altering the local microenvironment of the scalp while simultaneously fortifying the systemic blood supply.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me, because if we follow the path of those microcapillaries from the scalp down into the face, the text pivots to an area of health where we have a massive, almost comical cultural blind spot.
Oh, you're talking about vision.
Vision. When it comes to eye health, modern culture has essentially outsourced the entire job to a single vegetable,
The carrot.
the carrot. We have total tunnel vision on this.
No pun intended.
Right, exactly. The source points out that while carrots do contain beta-carotene, the curry leaf is intensely saturated with it, and yet it is entirely ignored in conversations about optical clarity.
What's fascinating here is the text's deliberate effort to shatter that carrot monopoly. I mean, beta-carotene is crucial because it's a precursor to vitamin A.
Right.
Once consumed, enzymes in the gut cleave the beta-carotene molecule to form retinol,
Right.
which is then transported to the retina.
And then what happens?
There, it binds with the protein to form rhodopsin. That's the biological pigment that actually allows our eyes to perceive light and adjust to darkness. The text introduces a roster of alternative, highly potent sources for this entire process.
It lists the curry leaf, obviously.
Yes, and papaya, a leafy green called panangani, and foxtail millet as profound protectors of the optical nerve.
Foxtail millet, it's a grain. Who looks at a bowl of millet and thinks, ah, yes, excellent for my retinas. But the text highlights panangani, too. For listeners unfamiliar, panangani is sessile joyweed, and it's packed with lutein, which acts almost like an internal pair of sunglasses.
Right, it filters out high-energy blue light to protect the macula.
Exactly. The text is forcing us to acknowledge a much wider ecosystem of nutrients. And that concept of an ecosystem is exactly what pushes us past the surface level, benefits the hair and the eyes, down into the microscopic cellular battleground of human biology.
We have to zoom in past the organ level, down to the mechanics of biological aging itself. The text lists the classic macro symptoms of aging, right?
Yeah, the loss of skin elasticity resulting in wrinkles, systemic physical fatigue, the gradual degradation of joint cartilage.
Right, and the modern medical establishment has largely coalesced around a singular culprit for these symptoms and a singular, highly lucrative solution.
Synthetic antioxidant pills. It is the ultimate modern medical irony. You visit a clinic for a completely unrelated issue, a minor joint ache or general fatigue, and the doctor frequently tacks a $50 bottle of acylated antioxidants onto the bottom of your prescription.
It happens all the time.
And the profound irony presented by the text is that the absolute maximum concentration of those exact cellular protectors is sitting in the pile of curry leaves the vegetable vendor just threw into your canvas bag for free.
The very leaves we meticulously pick out of our lunch and throw into the garbage disposal.
It's crazy. We're voluntarily paying a massive premium for synthetic isolation while actively discarding the natural abundance.
To truly grasp the weight of that irony, we really have to look at the specific biochemistry of the curry leaf. We need to move past the generic middle school definition of antioxidants.
Okay, break that down for us.
We aren't just talking about generic molecules neutralizing free radicals to stop cellular rust. The curry leaf is packed with highly specific carbazole alkaloids compounds like mahanambine and conagine.
Mahanambine and conage.
Yes. These don't just passively float around waiting to bump into a free radical. They actively upregulate the body's own endogenous antioxidant enzymes, like superoxide dismutase.
Oh, so they boost the body's own defense system.
Exactly. They protect the mitochondrial DNA from oxidative fragmentation, which is the literal driver of cellular fatigue and aging.
And the stakes are significantly higher than just preserving joint cartilage or preventing wrinkles.
Much higher.
The text transitions directly from aging into oncology. It points to modern scientific studies highlighting the ability of these specific alkaloids to interact with cancer cells.
Yes.
The text states they slow the rapid proliferation of tumors and prevent their initial formation. But we need to put a massive bolded asterisk here.
Absolutely. This is crucial.
The source explicitly states that curry leaf chutney is not a cure for cancer.
It is a critical caveat. The text maintains strict pathological integrity. It is not suggesting you abandon oncology or chemotherapy in favor of eating leaves.
Right, nobody's saying that.
It is defining a preventative mechanism. It states that regular daily consumption of the leaf in its varied forms of powder, chutney, or whole leaves prevents healthy cells from undergoing spontaneous mutation into malignant cells.
It's the difference between weatherproofing a house and calling the emergency response team.
That's a great way to put it.
Eating curry leaves daily is the equivalent of installing hurricane shutters, reinforcing the foundation, and sealing the roof joints in the middle of spring.
Right.
You are stabilizing the structure before the atmospheric pressure drops.
Exactly.
What you don't do is wait until a Category 5 hurricane is actively ripping the roof off your living room and then walk outside with a handful of leaves trying to hold the shingles down.
The distinction between proactive environmental control and reactive intervention is paramount. Western medicine excels at the reactive phase.
Right. Surgically excising the mutated tissue, deploying targeted radiation to destroy the rogue cells.
Right. The curry leaf operates entirely in the proactive phase. By saturating your cellular environment with mahanambine and conagine every day, you are suppressing the chronic oxidative stress pathways that trigger those spontaneous DNA mutations.
You are enforcing cellular stability so the mutation never occurs in the first place.
Yes, exactly.
So what does this all mean in a historical context? Because we have modern microscopes and genetic sequencing validating the cellular stabilization right now, but the text builds a staggering bridge across time.
It really does.
It reveals that the ancient Tamil Sita medical practitioners knew exactly what this leaf was doing centuries before the microscope was even conceptualized.
The epistemological implications here are massive. Long before Western science categorized free radicals or mapped DNA, the Siddha practitioners of southern India had integrated the curry leaf into a highly specific treatment protocol.
Siddha is one of the oldest medical systems on Earth, right?
Yes, predating many Ayurvedic texts, and it is heavily focused on the alchemy of plants and minerals.
The text lists the exact cluster of ailments they prescribed the leaf for: chronic indigestion, persistent loss of appetite, severe diarrhea, and pitta diseases.
Right.
And for our listeners, pitta in traditional medicine refers to the metabolic fire, the heat and transformative energy of the body, specifically in the digestive tract.
Exactly.
On the surface, if someone tells you to eat a leaf for indigestion and diarrhea, it sounds like a basic remedy for food poisoning or a mild stomach bug. But then the text drops an absolute bombshell.
It forces a complete reevaluation of ancient diagnostic capabilities.
It's wild.
The text reveals that the chronic indigestion, the wasting loss of appetite, and the unrelenting diarrhea that those ancient Siddha doctors were targeting with heavy doses of curry leaves are, in fact, the recognized early-stage symptomatic presentations of intestinal cancer.
I mean, how is that possible? Seriously, how do ancient healers thousands of years ago draw a direct, actionable line between a stubborn stomachache and a lethal internal malignancy without endoscopic cameras, without MRIs, and without biopsies?
It seems impossible.
It borders on the supernatural.
It isn't supernatural, though. It is the absolute triumph of longitudinal empirical observation.
Okay, what did that mean in practice?
Well, modern clinical trials operate on a vastly compressed timeline. We test a drug on 3,000 people for perhaps 2 to 5 years, analyze the data, and draw conclusions.
Right, that's standard.
The CETA tradition is essentially a continuous, uninterrupted clinical trial that spanned millennia, involving millions of human subjects across countless generations.
Oh, wow. It's a massive slow-motion data set.
Exactly. They didn't require an MRI because they mastered macro pattern recognition.
Macro pattern recognition.
Yeah, over centuries of meticulous documentation, they observed that a highly specific presentation of chronic indigestion, coupled with a distinct type of diarrhea and an unyielding loss of appetite, predictably and inevitably led to systemic wasting and death.
So they saw the pattern repeat over and over.
Right. They mapped the precise trajectory of the disease without needing to see the tumor itself. And crucially, through relentless trial and error across generations, they discovered that flooding the digestive tract with curry leaf compounds at the very onset of those specific symptoms disrupted the trajectory.
That is just incredible.
They empirically proved the biological mechanism without the modern vocabulary to describe it. They utilized the profound anti-inflammatory and cellular protective properties of the leaf to extinguish the localized inflammation in the gut lining before it could mutate into a full-blown malignancy.
The sheer intellectual rigor required to maintain and transmit that level of observational data across thousands of years is staggering.
It really is an achievement of human intelligence.
And since the foundation of this entire preventative architecture relies on the gut, the text logically addresses the most difficult practical hurdle. How do you actually deploy this botanical medicine?
Right, because it's bitter.
Exactly. Specifically, how do you get a child the demographic most notoriously averse to bitter, green medicinal flavors to actually ingest it?
The text provides a fascinating pediatric protocol directly from the Siddha tradition for exactly this problem.
And it doesn't rely on coercion, right?
No, not at all. It provides a highly engineered compound designed to hijack and reset a child's suppressed appetite.
The recipe is incredibly specific. You take the shade-dried curry leaf powder, you blend it with equal parts rock salt, cumin, and chuku.
Chuka, right.
And chuku is dry ginger, which is chemically distinct from fresh ginger. The text dictates that you mix the specific 4-part powder into hot rice. But the absolute linchpin of the entire operation is the timing.
The timing is everything here.
It must be the very first ball of rice the child consumes at that meal.
This isn't about seasoning a meal, It is
Yeah.
about triggering a profound neurogastric feedback loop.
A feedback loop.
Yeah, the text states that consuming this specific combination first actively cures the loss of appetite.
It functions exactly like the starter motor in a combustion engine.
That's a perfect analogy.
You can have a full tank of fuel, which represents the rest of the nutritious food sitting on the plate. But if the starter motor doesn't turn over and provide that initial spark, the engine simply cannot process the fuel.
It just sits there.
Right. That first hot, highly spiced ball of rice acts as the ignition switch for the digestive tract.
If we examine the gastroenterology of that first bite, the starter motor analogy is perfectly accurate. When a child has a suppressed appetite, their digestive system is essentially dormant.
Blood flow is low.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Blood flow to the gut is low. Enzyme production is halted. When that specific combination hits an empty, resting stomach lining, it initiates a chemical cascade.
Let's break down those components.
Okay, so chuku dried ginger contains shojails, which are significantly more potent prokinetic agents than the gingerols found in fresh ginger.
Prokinetic agents, so they cause movement.
Yes. They physically stimulate the motility of the stomach muscles. Then the cumin contains cuminaldehyde, which signals the salivary glands in the pancreas to aggressively ramp up enzyme secretion.
Oh, wow. And the salt.
The rock salt provides the immediate trace minerals, specifically chloride, required to synthesize stomach acid. And finally, the curry leaf powder delivers the medicinal alkaloids.
So by striking the empty stomach lining first, before it is diluted by a massive intake of water or mild carbohydrates, you are shocking the system awake.
You force massive vasodilation in the gut mucosa. The stomach immediately signals the brain via the vagus nerve that a high-intensity digestive process is underway.
So the brain catches up to the stomach.
Exactly. This acute force stimulation completely overrides the child's neurological hesitation or pickiness. It artificially induces a physiological state of robust hunger.
That is wild.
You are using botanical chemistry to reverse engineer an appetite.
It is absolute culinary engineering. You are hacking the physiological hardware to make them crave the nutrition they were actively rejecting.
It's brilliant.
And from that pediatric intervention, the text leaps to the entirely opposite end of the human timeline. It addresses the silent systemic killers of modern adulthood, lifestyle diseases.
Yes, specifically diabetes and high cholesterol.
This is the arena where the text deploys the heaviest modern botanical chemistry. It returns to those carbazole alkaloids we discussed earlier.
Right, elevating them from cellular protectors to active metabolic modulators.
Modulators, okay.
Yes. The text explicitly states that these alkaloids transform the plant into an effective, measurable medicine for diabetes management.
And it brings receipts. It doesn't just lean on the Siddha tradition here. It cites modern, peer-reviewed data, specifically a study from the University of Chicago.
The numbers in that study are staggering.
They really are. The metrics reported are honestly hard to process for a plant. The text states that regular consumption of curry leaves reduces blood sugar by 42%, and simultaneously reduces blood cholesterol by 30%.
In the realm of pharmacology, those numbers represent a seismic event.
I mean, 42% is huge.
It's massive. If a pharmaceutical company synthesized a single compound that reliably dropped blood glucose by 42% without triggering extreme hypoglycemia and wiped out 30% of serum cholesterol, it would be a multi-billion-dollar blockbuster drug overnight.
Overnight, no question.
Yet this dual-action modulation is naturally occurring within the biological matrix of a leaf that grocery stores treat as packaging material.
Let's dig into the how, though. How is a leaf dropping blood sugar by 42%? Is it mimicking insulin?
It acts across multiple metabolic pathways. One of the primary mechanisms of these specific alkaloids is the inhibition of alpha amylase, an enzyme in the digestive tract.
Alpha amylase, what does that do?
Alpha amylase is responsible for breaking down complex dietary starches into simple sugars.
Okay, so it stops that process.
Yes. By inhibiting this enzyme, the curry leaf actively slows the rate at which glucose is absorbed into the bloodstream after a meal, preventing the massive insulin spikes that drive type 2 diabetes.
So it's like a biological speed bump.
Exactly. Furthermore, the alkaloids influence hepatic glucose production. They signal the liver to stop overproducing glucose when the body doesn't need it.
That handles the blood sugar. But the cholesterol metric is where the text highlights a massive, well-known vulnerability in modern medicine. Lowering LDL, the bad cholesterol, by 30% is fantastic. We have statins that do that.
We do, yeah.
But the text points out the real dilemma. It is incredibly difficult to pharmacology increase HDL, the high-density lipoprotein, or good cholesterol.
It's notoriously difficult.
Yeah.
HDL is the scavenger of the cardiovascular system. It facilitates reverse cholesterol transport.
Reverse transport.
Yeah, it physically cruises through the bloodstream, binds to the excess bad cholesterol clinging to the arterial walls, and transports it back to the liver for excretion.
Oh, that is crucial.
It is. High levels of HDL are profoundly protective against atherosclerosis, heart attacks, and strokes. Modern medicine struggles immensely here.
Because statins don't do that.
Right. Statins are highly effective at suppressing the liver's production of bad cholesterol, but they are notoriously terrible at raising HDL. If a patient has dangerously low HDL, a cardiologist's primary tool is lifestyle intervention.
They prescribe rigorous daily aerobic exercise. Go jog 3 miles a day.
Exactly.
But the text confirms that researchers have observed curry leaves actively elevating that good cholesterol. The botanical compounds are executing a lipid modulation that highly advanced synthetic drugs fail to achieve.
It's an astounding biological sophistication. The carbazole alkaloids appear to upregulate the specific hepatic pathways responsible for synthesizing HDL particles. They are suppressing the dangerous lipids while actively constructing the protective scavengers.
Which forces the text to its ultimate conclusion. It introduces the term functional food.
Yes, functional food.
The source posits that if you integrate curry leaves into your daily diet, alongside whatever conventional medications you require for diabetes or cholesterol, the leaf transcends its status as a flavor enhancer. It becomes a functional food, a legitimate health intervention. Now, I have to push back hard on the text's terminology here.
Really? Functional food is a widely accepted nutritional category.
Yeah. Because it feels like a linguistic concession. I mean, if a compound drops my blood sugar by 42%, inhibits alpha amylase in my gut, slashes my LDL by 30%, and actively upregulates my HDL synthesis. Wait, at what point do we rip off the food label entirely and just classify it as a highly sophisticated medicine?
That's a fair point.
Calling it a functional food feels like we are still subconsciously trying to keep it in the grocery aisle so it doesn't threaten the pharmacy.
That is a phenomenal critique, actually, and it cuts directly to the artificial boundaries we've constructed around human health.
Right.
The strict demarcation between food and medicine is a remarkably recent, distinctly Western invention. We demand categorization.
We really do.
If it nourishes you, it goes in a ceramic bowl. If it alters your pathology, it belongs in a plastic bottle with a child-proof cap. The term functional food is essentially modern science, awkwardly attempting to build a bridge over a divide that shouldn't even exist.
It's a compromise.
It is a reluctant acknowledgement that the biochemical compounds within this specific leaf are altering human pathology with a measurable efficacy that directly rivals our most heavily researched synthetic therapeutics. It completely blurs the
It
line.
obliterates the line. And that obliteration brings us perfectly to the end of this journey, because the text demands a complete structural paradigm shift regarding the plate of food sitting in front of us.
It absolutely does.
We began this deep dive examining a discarded free garnish, a flimsy green leaf shoved to the edge of the plate, culturally destined for the compost bin.
And we conclude by recognizing its actual architecture.
Yes.
It is a highly potent, bioavailable delivery system for beta-carotene that synthesizes retinal pigments. It is a profound source of specialized carboxyl alkaloids that suppress the oxidative stress leading to cellular mutation.
Right.
It represents an ancient, empirically verified defense protocol against the onset of intestinal malignancies, and is a chemically proven, dual-action modulator capable of fundamentally altering our metabolic response to diabetes and cardiovascular disease.
It is an entire pharmacy, hiding in plain sight, masquerading as a cheap flavor enhancer.
Perfectly said.
So the direct actionable takeaway for you listening right now is incredibly simple. The next time you sit down to a meal, whether it's in your own dining room or at a restaurant, and you see a curry leaf in your food, do not push it to the side.
Please don't.
Do not pick it out. When you scrape that leaf into the trash, you are literally throwing away a pharmaceutical-grade botanical intervention. You are holding the winning lottery ticket and throwing it away. Eat the leaf.
It is the simplest, most accessible act of reclaiming natural pathology.
Absolutely. And as we close the book on the hidden virtues of the curry leaf, it leaves us with one final, lingering, and frankly provocative thought to carry forward.
Okay, what is it?
If one of the most sophisticated, multi-system healing agents on the planet, a biological tool capable of protecting our structural integrity from head to toe, is routinely ignored and discarded simply because society has labeled it as familiar and free, what else are we missing? What other incredibly valuable things in our daily environments, in our intellectual pursuits, or in our relationships are we entirely ignoring and tossing aside simply because they don't come with an expensive price tag?
That is a question that requires a deep, deep inventory of our daily lives.
Until next time, keep looking closer at the things you take for granted.